Hi everyone, I'm Kate. I attended the Sunshine Coast workshop in April 2019, and I was lucky enough to be invited in for some convergence healing as part of that workshop. I wanted to take some time to actually outline that healing session, sort of why I applied for it, how I experienced the healing, and then what the results have been since then. I applied because I have a very complicated medical history. And my results in more recent times have been getting worse. So I was hoping that the healing itself would either get rid of the conditions that I've got, or certainly improve them, take some steps towards improving them. And I'll be honest, right now, it's a little too soon to know whether that has had an effect or not. I'm still working with my medical team. We're looking at tests, we're looking at results, we're examining data, and I've undertaken to update Dr. Joe's support team if there should be some changes in my readings that they might be interested in. So that aside, what I do want to talk about is an unexpected healing, and that has to do with chronic pain. I've actually had chronic pain for about 5 years. I've lived with pain on a daily basis, shuffled along, got up in the mornings, been in pain, shuffled along, gone to bed in pain, not slept well, all of that, and never even entered my brain. It's such a habit. It never even entered my brain that I could ask for healing from it. So that was actually where the healing session went, unexpectedly. My history of chronic pain is I actually moved to my current town about 5 years ago. And when I was packing up my previous location and moving boxes and getting organised, I strained my lower back. And that injury has slowed me down a little in the last 5 years. So it's also impacted on my lower body in the sense that when I arrived in this town, I have a history of dancing for a hobby. And I knew that I could take up rock and roll dancing. There was a club up here I wanted to join. They did lessons and they did social dancing sort of several nights a week, and I wanted to be part of that. And it's a nice way of meeting new people and having fun at the same time. So I did all of that. And then I noticed, so that was 4 to 5 years ago, and then about 4 years ago I noticed the mechanical action of the rock and roll movement was starting to affect my lower body, in particular my left hip, my right knee and my left foot. About 2 years ago, I just went, I can't deal with this anymore. Something's got to give. So what actually gave was the dancing. I stopped dancing 2 years ago altogether. And I thought that it would improve my pain. But no, that didn't happen. The pain has continued even though I wasn't dancing. So going into the healing session, I knew the biggest issue for me was going to be receiving the healing. I'm not great at receiving. It's not what I do well as well. I'm really good at giving. I'm good at supporting people generously. I do that brilliantly. However, turning it on myself, not so good. So I knew I had to get my head straight before I went into the room for healing. And luckily we were given some time in another room where we were actually, Dr. Joe did come and talk to us, and I had time to get my head straight for the healing. Underpinning all of that was a view that I really was unworthy, that there were other people more worthy of healing. And so I really had to sort that through. And I went, well, I'm committed to this. I'm here. I'm committed. I'm open to the experience. Let's see where this goes. So by the time I went into the room and joined my group of 8 beautiful souls, I lay on the floor as I was instructed, and I was ready. Whatever, bring it on. I knew I was safe. I knew it would be fine. So bring it on. If I started to feel overwhelmed, if I started to feel unworthy, I knew to just breathe and accept. So something new to try. The healing for me, and I get this doesn't happen to everyone, but for me almost straight away I had an entity come in. And I'm going to say entity. It was huge. 10 to 12 feet tall. He wasn't really interested in me. He was interested in my knee, and he literally, and I don't know if this happened literally, I forgot to ask the group, or whether it happened simply energetically, but he picked up my right knee with his left hand, and so my right calf and my right foot were dangling in the air, and he then started flicking the leg with some force up and out, and he just kept flicking. After about 4 or 5 flicks in my head, I did say, "You do know that hurts, don't you?" And he grunted. Lucky I speak grunt, because I understood that that was a yes. And then he didn't miss a beat. He just kept flicking. And I said, "You know that leg's attached to me, don't you?" And again, got a grunt. And he kept going, and I lost count how many more flicks later. It was excruciatingly painful, and each flick even more painful than the last. And finally, after, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 flicks, whatever it was, I felt like the fascia in my leg suddenly unblocked, and I heard this crackle, 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 pop all the way down my leg. And I've got to say, the relief from the pain was unbelievable. It was pretty darn good. And I had a couple of minutes to enjoy that before he put 2 poles, one in each leg, so straight legs, parallel to each other. And I had another metal pole energetically placed through my pelvis. So it was like a H symbol. And he used that. My shoulders stayed on the floor, my head stayed on the floor, but my lower body started to twist to the right. And I had no idea you could twist a body that far. And he just used these poles to work like a leverage. And this traction started to go down my spine. I could feel it. And I just kept being twisted and twisted and twisted. And then suddenly I felt pop, crackle, crackle, crackle. So, and again, the relief was amazing. And he then went. That was it. The next bit was interesting. My group said afterwards, what happened was my legs then went up into, when I finished turning to the right, I came back to center, and then my legs came up into the air, and it was like they were doing their own little private party dance. And a couple of people were a little bit concerned I might actually clock them on the head with my feet. But lucky, no one was damaged in this healing session. And then, really for me, I was lying in this center of energy. It was just amazing. It would come up from my legs, through my body, and go around both sides of me through the circle. At the same time, I also felt it go above me and below me. But every time it came up through my feet, up through my body, and got repeated, and it built. It just, every time it went around the group, it got stronger. But came out of it, I got up from the floor, and there were hugs and, conversations about what everyone experienced. And when I was walking away from it, I realised that I had no pain in my left hip at all, and I had less pain in my right knee. I'd lost about 80 or 90% of the pain in my right knee, and I went, "Oh my God!" What was left in both of those joints was a lot of stiffness, but no pain. Well, limited pain and no pain. My left foot still was in pain, and that did last for another week for the left foot. The other two, basically the pain went within a couple of days completely. So I am thrilled that I got put in for the healing. It's had this unexpected outcome for me. I'm sleeping well, I'm getting well, my stiffness has gone from 10 steps of pain to probably 2 to 3 steps of pain, and 3 steps of stiffness. But beyond that, everything is just extraordinary. I am so grateful.